Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Jamie Nunez. I'm a Bay Area Regional Manager here at Common Sense. Today we have some amazing guests all the way from San Francisco, Miss Lauren Marquez and Mr. Ed Marquez. Before I introduce you both, I want to kind of give us a snapshot of what we're going to be talking about over the next 20 minutes. So it's the end of the school year. We've gone through these influxes of distance learning. We have maybe a little time to breathe. Today, we're going to be sort of taking a step back, looking at ourselves in the mirror and thinking, did we do a good job as educators? What was that impact like for us connecting with our students? And specifically, we're going to be looking at ways in which we can transform this distance learning if it seems to be a normative for the future. How can we use tools like social media to engage with our students more? So Ed, Lauren, I can't thank you guys enough. You both look very stylish. I appreciate you guys getting haircuts from somewhere. I don't know. You all look great. So how are you all both feeling this morning? You doing okay?
Yeah, doing all right. I have an honors thesis that is due on the 18th. So that is what I'm thinking about right now.
Wow.
And I'm in quarter system. So unfortunately, I don't finish college until June.
Wow. And I'll let folks know where you're currently going at this point. But Ed, how are you feeling? You doing okay?
Oh no, it went off?
TP5G is active. Try TP5G.
Uh-oh. Well, you all look great as in a frozen state. So do what you need to do on my end. So as you are going back on, I want to introduce who Lauren and Ed are. Ed is going on 29 years of teaching math across high school, is it elementary and high school, or is it primarily in high school?
Yeah, I tried a stint in elementary school and realized I wasn't that organized. So I've done middle school and high school, but yeah, thank you. Well, I do want to, can I say happy Teachers Appreciation Week. Yay.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I don't know if Jamie offered you a free gift certificate to join, but shout out to my amazing BFF, Tracy Thompson. I just have to say that she's the head of our amazing math department, and she's fantastic. But
I love
educators like her really make my day. And also happy Mother's Day and Grandma's Day.
You're so good. You're so good. So Ed is amazing. As you can tell, he's an amazing engager, both online and offline. And Lauren is a San Francisco Unified School District alumni and is currently a senior. What are we, weeks away from graduating from Stanford University? And remind us again what your major is, Lauren, and how you're going to change the world in a few weeks. So,
my major is science, technology, and society. So I love having conversations like these because we talk about how digital media is affecting youth and the country right now, as well as the design of technology and how that affects people.
I love it. So let's get into it. I really want us to think about social media and let's just sort of talk about both what tools you are currently using to engage, in this case, Ed, to engage with your students. And then Lauren, if you can talk a little bit about the social media tools that you're using to engage with your teachers. So before we do that, I kind of want to just ask you both if you can get a little closer to the camera, and then sort of in 10 seconds, if you can kind of, when I say what is your very first facial expression that you see or you look like when you're in front of students, if you can just take like 5 seconds and just show me that facial expression, that'd be great. So I'm your student. Ed, you're in front of me. What is that first facial expressions that you see when I see you? Go. You look great. That's a great smile. And then Lauren, what is that facial expression you look like when you first are in front of your teacher in that distance learning chat that you have or that connection that you have? So go right ahead. 3, 2, 1. You guys are amazing. Yeah. And as you can kind of tell that difference, I really kind of use that as a backdrop. So Ed, really, we'll start with you. What are the ways in which you are both using social media, but in general, what are the ways, the unique tools in which you're using, whether it's social media or whether it's just docs that you use, what are the ways in which you connect with your students day in, day out?
Yeah, that's good. How I'm using, I have to be honest that I was from the old school of, well, I avoided social media. So I have learned from my daughter, we have some fantastic younger teachers, my student teacher. So I learn from others. So one thing anything I'm doing that's awesome. I'm mooching off people, but I do use, they've taught me things about how to use TikTok, memes. Desmos is fantastic for creating projects that they can use to encourage others. And definitely YouTubes. I put YouTubes on to show, to encourage students, and I'll say this a lot, it's about continuing to build our relationships. It's not becoming Terminator like Robotron with technology. I really want to continue engaging students and getting them to be engaged. And so that's the key, is how can I use their technology and engage them to engage each other? Because they learn the most when they talk to each other.
Absolutely, yeah. And Lauren, I think for you as a student, as a former student, but also as a student that is currently using tech and social media, what are the sort of unique ways in which you connect with your teachers? Like, are there challenges that you have? Are there successes that you have of using social media? What's sort of the key to kind of get connected? What does that sort of look like?
Mm-hmm. Well, because of my dad, I've been trained that you don't friend teachers on social media. So that's number one. And so I'm usually, even though I have like middle school teachers who have friended me on Facebook, and I'm still like, no. So I don't really feel comfortable with that, but I do feel comfortable sharing maybe a video that I made. So I made a video for some of the grandmas in my life who passed away, and on one of our classes, and I put it on YouTube, and YouTube is also a social media that a lot of youth use. And they said in our class, my class is an Indigenous Film Studies class, and they said we wanted to study how women are portrayed in media for one of our days. So then I sent in a video that I had made, like a dance video for my grandmas, and then
Amazing.
we get to talk about it in class.
That's super powerful. And, I think it brings up a good question. Number one is about what restrictions teachers have. And Ed, I think you mentioned about that there's some unique tools that we can already use. I want to paint a picture of what that actually looks like in a practical sense. So, I'm a student that has been going for the last, few weeks to your distance learning chat, maybe, or your class, like 2-3 times out of the week. How do you actually engage with me? There's quite a bit of strain that's happening, right? Quite a bit of stress that's happening already with the student, grappling with other issues. What is the motivation for me to go to your class first? And second is, how do I actually, as an educator, bring that into the space, into that content? What are the sort of unique ways we might be able to not only use these tools, but transform our pedagogical practices? So do you have any tips for educators out there? Yeah.
So I have a quick analogy. I mean, I love superheroes, and Iron Man, you remember Tony Stark, when he first was injured, he had to create tech to save his life. But the irony is, as it went along, he got better at tech to save others' lives. And that's kind of how I see it, is if I can get better at tech, my mindset is I'm going to be able to help more. So I do think that is very important for me to, that's my mindset, is the technology is going to help me to connect more with the students.
Yeah.
I do think, though, less is more. You just need 3, like a good pitcher just needs 3 good pitches and can dominate. I want to encourage educators, just get good at a few things. Get good at whether it's using a Desmos, whether creating a Desmos, and to make sure we are personalizing it. I think the students, if I'm trying to draw you back in, you really do need to see my human side. So more than ever, I think this requires us to personalize things, whether I put a little fun emoji. I always use a panda to say bye or something, because it reminds me of my grandma and my auntie who raised me. So I think the more personal we can get, especially now, you might not get a smile from them, but they appreciate when you share your life through media.
I really appreciate that. And I think, Lauren, you had been mentioning that as well, that the connection that you have with teachers has to look a certain way, has to feel authentic. So do you have any tips for those educators out there that are listening in around the world? Like, what are the unique ways? What are the things that teachers can say and do? And what are the tools sort of needed to reinforce that connection? But also at the same time to teach you something without it feeling like an overwhelming space, right? So paint that picture for us of, like, how can teachers best connect with their students, and what tools do you think might work to reinforce that?
Making sure our Parakeet doesn't turn off the
That's a really good virtual parakeet that you have in the background. I love it. So you have to show us what that looks like. Yeah.
You can hear him.
Dad, can you put him in his room, please? Okay, whatever. Anyways,
He's okay. He looks great. Yeah, it adds to the flavor.
Yeah. What was it? Oh, so one thing to know is students will find out everything you've ever posted. Like, we found one of my friends, I didn't even know him actually. I met him because we were going to watch I was going to watch one of my professors who used Twitter in his classroom, and he brought in a famous Twitter person. And I loved him for that. The class was called, it was on Prince, the singer, the Purple Majesty. So, and we used Twitter and a thing called music sermons that I think Naima, I'm not going to butcher your name. So anyway, so we did that, and it was really cool. And I loved his class because I felt like he was bringing his own love for music and teaching us how to actually analyze how music and lyrics can be used to create change, but also even the music videos that were created I'm just going to put dragon in this.
Oh, it's okay, Lauren. I love it. Just like in distance learning, I think, we just roll with the punches. I actually thought you were replicating something that was happening in your class. It sounded like there was a DJ in the background. So very, very stylish.
We did have a DJ come in. That was really cool. He was awesome. So
continue though. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. So I really love this professor. He doesn't switch the way he talks. Because there's a lot of code switching, and that's something I learned about in college, but I always did throughout my life. Is if I go to the grocery store, I talk one way. At home, I talk another way. At school, I talk another way. With my friends at school, I talk another way.
Mm-hmm.
In front of the principal, I talk another way. In front of my teacher, so it's like, and different teachers, you talk different. And it's really like, it kind of strips who you are, and you become someone who just, you just are a chameleon. And this teacher didn't do that. He just spoke how he spoke. And he leads the Department of Power and Rhetoric, and he's a Black man, and that is something that is very powerful to be able to bring in like his own culture.
I love it. And I just want to echo what you said, because I think that authenticity for many teachers that are first maybe in front of that screen, that they're taking that that format, the fact that we're now can't actually be in physical proximity, it sort of takes away that authenticity. So, I love the fact that, as much as you can be authentic, you can really enjoy it. Ed, do you want to comment on that? How do you keep yourself, quote unquote, real in front of your students? One of the things that I saw early on with you is you posted a YouTube video, I think, showing how to bench press in front of your kids. And then you gave a tour of all your house. I want to be in front of your house, first of all. That's such a cool area. But how do you keep yourself real? How do you let your kids know, like, hey, I'm a human being, I'm still struggling, and B, I want to keep myself authentic with what I have to do as my role of an educator, but I don't want to lose that part about me during this time. What are the techniques, stories that you have? So.
Yeah, thanks. Great. I one of my heroes recently has been Jacinda Ardern, the New Zealand leader, and how she leads with empathy. I'm part of a great group called Trellis Education. They lead with empathy. I think that's what my mindset, first of all, is ultimately I have to lead, whatever I do, lead with empathy. But I think one thing that's empathetic is when students see our weaknesses. And so when I can communicate in an encouraging way that, so I use Google Classroom, and we do a prompt on how are you doing today. They love telling me how they're doing. And I get back to each student and I tell them kind of my Ann Landers, like, I went through that too. Yeah, I got in an argument with my wife. And I just try to really let them know I'm a human. We're going through this. We are in this thing. And so every week, every student who replies back to me, which they all do, I type them up a little note to show my human side. And I definitely do think that makes a difference.
I love it.
But I do also tell the kids that it's all about them connecting. And the real learning, frankly, happens when they can connect with each other. Because we don't want to be the sage on the stage. We, again, know good teaching means get them to talk to each other. So we do breakout rooms. And I said, look, I'm not going to interrupt your breakout room because I don't think they want to see this big head come in and it's the teacher. So I have to really trust and push that they are talking to each other. And, so I tried it once and they got freaked out. It was like the roaches. they turned off their screen. Like, like, oh my gosh.
It's
I
scary.
love it.
They don't like
You
the
don't
show.
see it coming.
It is, right, Lauren? Like, you have to prepare for that, right? You don't see it coming
You're
as
like,
a whole. How would you feel if your dad was your teacher, like, and he did that? Would it freak you out, or would you have to check him? Like, hey, Mr. Marquez, that really wouldn't work. Yeah.
I don't think I would mind because it's my dad. So it does depend on the relationship. I think that there are different teachers, and your relationship really is what's that. But another thing I was going to add is that because they will find everything out about you, a random kid who was next to me in the audience showed me one of his teachers in a rap video. And so you might as well just have a public social media platform where you post a lot of things and cultivate it so they don't just make up stuff about you.
I appreciate that. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about sort of the future as a whole and really go back to our original point, which is what are ways, given the fact that we might be in this sort of predicament, this blended learning for the near future, what are ways both teachers can use social media or what I mean about social media is sort of like unique platforms to reach their students. What are ways in which educators can best do that? And then Lauren, a question for you that sort of complements that is, what do students need to know about this space that teachers might be helpful to kind of in guiding? Like what does education need to look like through your perspective? And then Ed, if you can kind of comment on and kind of share, like how do you sort of incorporate these tools to best redesign education in many ways? So
yeah, well, thanks. I love Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I love the scene, where he said it's pure imagination and they break through that glass ceiling. You remember that? And I think we really have to have that kind of mindset.
Yeah.
Everything goes. We have to dream, just pure imagination. But this is important. I think you have to build a foundation. I'd encourage, some people do this, but journaling, honestly, Jamie, is get a journal out and say, what kind of educator, write down, I want to be this type of educator, because we're all becoming something right now. The COVID-19 era, it's shaping us. So either you're going to intentionally shape yourself or you're going to be shaped to become something. And I think we all are created, frankly, to do good works and to make a difference. So I do think that needs to be the mindset to be reflective right now. What do we need to do? What we do isn't as important as we, frankly, become something through this.
Yeah.
So I'll start first with that and let Lauren here.
Yeah, that I really appreciate that. That's super helpful tip, right? Like set that foundation up and rethink about what that looks like as a teacher, right? What is exactly your vision statement? I think that I hear from you loud and clear. Yeah. Lauren, yourself, I'm really curious.
In terms of on the student side, I think I'd love for students to understand that they are powerful and that they are creators. And if they see something that needs to happen, like they can do something about it. And I think students feel really empowered and cared about when a teacher is willing to talk about ways that they can bring in their own ideas, but also when teachers are willing to include a student's history and a student's culture in what you're learning.
And how do they do that though? Like if I'm a teacher and I know nothing about my students or know very little at this point, and again, that doesn't reflect the 272 participants. I'm sure you all are amazing. But if I'm a new teacher and I'm really just grappling with the technology, what are one or two tips that you would recommend? You talked about authenticity early on and being real, but what are some other tools, specific tools or social media tools that you think that teachers can get started on maybe on Monday?
Well, for one of my teachers, he used Instagram in high school, and he would just take pictures of it and of the homework and just post it. And that was one of the few classes where I was like, I'm never missing this one because I see it every time I scroll. I don't know if that's very ethical. However, that really helped me. And I think it would be great if educators could partner with them. And that's one idea. And also images do speak a lot to students, a lot. And so if you are someone who go around your neighborhood, just take a picture. One of my teachers has been taking pictures of her dogs and just showing it at the beginning of class. Show something that is nature or beautiful, and it just helps students feel calm.
Love it. All right, I'm gonna flip the script on both of you now because I want to make sure that we are actively modeling this for our audience. So we're going to do a speed round together. I'm going to ask you all a series of questions or prompts. I'm going to ask you to kind of reenact them as if you were a student or if you were a teacher. You guys okay with that?
Yeah, go for it.
All
Yeah.
right, here we go. Let's embrace it. So get ourselves sort of ready, and let's see where we're at. So what I want you to do, Ed, first is in 5 seconds or less, describe and tell me and reenact what your ending of your class looks like. What do you do and what do you say? No need to put any narrative on it. Just I'm going to hit record. We're actually already recording.
All right.
I'm going to ask you. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, here's our Be the Good Thought of the day. And here's a person who was helping, and I want to encourage you to go out and really help some people safely, if you can, or at home.
Awesome. Lauren, for you, you are a student and you have realized that the last 30 minutes, no one has spoken up. You really have a question for your teacher. What is a way that you want to ask that question? Go ahead and reenact that question.
Hi, I have a question. What does that mean? Can you explain it?
I love it. You model so good. All right. Next prompts for you is Twitter or Facebook. What works better for educators? At the same time, give me your response. Go.
Oh, Facebook for the older, Twitter for the younger.
Twitter is a really good way to interact with people.
Yeah.
Love it. TikTok. I want to use TikTok as an educator. Yes or no?
Yes, I use them.
Wisely.
Love it. I've posted something that I later regret. I'm a student now. My teacher finds this out. What is the best way to actually connect?
Personally, I would talk to the student, call the student and let them know that we care about them, and we'll figure this out together.
Wonderful. Okay, let's go ahead.
I just know that moments you're not frozen like pictures.
Wonderful. All right, you all, I really appreciate this. I want to take some questions from our participants. One of them asked is like, okay, use TikTok or use TikTok wisely or these things. Can you tell me what are some really specific, tangible things that I can start using on Monday? So can you guys kind of give us some?
When they enter the class, initially I had a warm up and we looked at 3 TikToks and I said, vote on your favorite one. They were all animal based, about 10 or 15 seconds. And they love that. They love to type in the chat what their favorite TikTok was.
I think that's good.
Lauren? Mm-hmm. Takeaways. Any last takeaways before you have that? Go ahead, Lauren. Sorry. Lauren, Ed, I want to give you one last second to come back on. Otherwise, we'll just stay in this memory and I'll smile with you and feel like I'm frozen during this smile. Here we go. We'll count down. 5. Everybody else out there, if you can kind of pretend that you're frozen, that would be great as well. I'll do that myself. All right. Well, thank you all very much. This has been another session for our distance learning. I really, really appreciate you all being present. Thank you. And thank you, Ed and Lauren.